So first, a couple housekeeping things. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? I'm the person who puts out the newsletter each week, or not the newsletter, but the little reminder every week. And I just wanted to say that if you put your name on the list and you're not getting my messages, please write your name again on our list out there, because I keep getting bounces back, and it's because I couldn't read your writing or I read it wrong or something like that. I want to make sure everyone gets it if you want it. Because I'll never put a name on unless that person tells me to. So that's just housekeeping. The second thing is, I want to thank Pastor Irene for the ashes today. I can't come tomorrow night to the service, so these ashes have become very important to me. I've been to the Methodist Church all my life, and until Pastor Dwayne started offering the ashes, I had never had them in a Methodist church before, and I love ritual and I love those kinds of things. And I just remember Pastor Dwayne out on downtown, in his white robe, giving out. I thought, he's the prophet, The end is near. The end is near. Well, not quite, but I love the ashes, so thank you so much, Irene. For many, many years, 10 years maybe, and longer, I used to give presentations about passion in the workplace and creating the flame within and all those sort of things. And typically I would start a presentation and I would hold up a candle and I would say something like, as I lit it, we'll see if this works. I would say, deep inside you is a candle waiting to be lit. And we were talking to people who in many cases were tired of their jobs, just waiting till 30, and talking to them and the managers about how they could create workplaces which are more exciting, more interesting, more meaningful, and so on. And so that's how I started those presentations. Deep inside you is a candle waiting to be lit. And if we think about our service tonight and the chants that Irene and Mary have written and others, that you see a theme of light and darkness throughout all of them, and we can relate to that light and darkness. So to me, one of the most powerful, I'm going to talk about Quakerism a little bit tonight in Parker Palmer. So I've loved doing this because some of the people who have been the most meaningful to me, including Thomas Kelly, who was in our readings tonight and last week, and John Woolman, Parker Palmer, and others have been very meaningful to me as I've tried to seek ways to become deeper in my own life. So one of the most powerful of the Quaker beliefs and practices has to do with their thoughts about the inner life. And this, what I'm about to read, is from Quaker.org. And anybody who's interested in learning about Quakerism, that's a great place to go. It's a great reference point. They say, from the beginning, Friends, those are the Society of Friends, those are Quakers, have believed that of God is in everything, everyone. God is in everyone. In the earliest days of Quakerism, nearly 4 centuries ago, this was often thought of as an inward light, and was specifically associated with Jesus Christ, the light of the world. Silent worship came about because George Fox, he was the founder of Quakerism, and other early Quakers believed that silence and stillness would enable people to apprehend the presence of the inward light, would show them the unflinching truth about their lives, including what they ought to do to align themselves with God's will. And we feel that a little bit here in our service tonight and other nights, right? That silence and stillness enables us to apprehend the light within us. And not just the light within us, but the light within this room. And if we extend it even further, the light in everyone and everything. So a little over a century ago, the Quakers, and led by Rufus Jones, and Rufus Jones is quite a high person, high theologian and writer in Quakerism, but he rethought that image of speaking by speaking of an inner light, not an inward light, but an inner light, something of God that could be found within every human soul. So the phrase, to hold something or something in the light, has also become popular in recent decades, roughly synonymous with to keep someone in one's thoughts and prayers. And like the light itself, it's an expression that can hold different meanings for Christians and non-Christians, and as well for those who are not religious or not Christians, don't believe in God, but do believe in a universal force of one kind or another. Rufus Jones, I think he was writing back in 1920, that era. He's a person who influenced Thomas Kelly, and he was influenced by John Woolman, who lived in the 1700s. He said, the Quaker way of worship is organized to cultivate this deeper and diviner aspect of life. So this inward life, this what we're doing right here, this way of worship, of silence, we just experienced 5 minutes of it, is organized to cultivate this deeper and diviner aspect of life. Parker Palmer is someone who I met, I think I mentioned that last week or the week before, around the year 2000, 2001, when I was giving one of these speeches about passionate workplaces. He is a community organizer. He started as a community organizer, official community organizer. He taught at Georgetown, was Dean of Studies at the Quaker Center at Pendle Hill. And Pendle Hill still lives on, and it's a place where people go for training. And he called it like a ashram, a community. It's a place where people who are Quakers generally go to learn more about peace in this inner light. He's written 10 books, hundreds, even thousands of essays, chapters. But the interesting thing is, even Parker Palmer, Quaker Dean of Studies at Pendleton, had a darker part of his life. He had to walk, even to cower at times in darkness. During times of depression in Parker Palmer's life, he came to the conclusion, and see if any of us can relate to that. I don't know if anybody but me here has ever been in a dark part of their lives, but I'm guessing maybe one or two. He said he had to be forced underground before I could understand that the way to God is not up, but down. And he has called those times of darkness. He struggled to discern who he was, and he tells a story of Zoysa. It's from the Tales of the Hasidim, but he writes about it, and that's the first place I read about it. The first person who ever told me this story was my friend Stanley Weinstein, and he told it to me in an accent. He said, it's the story of Zoysa, and I'll see if I can say it like Stanley would say it. Rabbi Zoysa, when he was an old man, said, in the coming world, they will not ask me, why were you not Moses? They will ask me, why were you not Zoysa? Why were you not yourself? Why were you not your own true self? And he writes, most of us arrive at a sense of self and vocation only after a long journey through alien lands, kind of like a pilgrimage. He quotes a May Sarton poem in at least 2 of his books, so I thought, well, that was important enough to share with you here tonight. She says, now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and place. I've been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces. Now, I know I have worn many other people's faces in my life. My dad, my grandfather, Mr. D, he was our tennis coach, and he was just a wonderful, wonderful man who just helped so many kids over his lifetime. Reverend Gillingham, the closest minister who affected my life when I was in my 20s, I had their faces. But it took a lot of dissolving, as May Sarton says, to become more and more like myself, more and more myself. A lot of dark before stepping into that circle of light, which though it dims and blinks, overall, for me, just keeps getting brighter. Parker Palmer writes that some of our journeys are direct and some are circuitous. Some are heroic, some are fearful and muddled. But every journal, he says, honestly understood, stands a chance of taking us toward the place where, and he's referring to Zoysa again, and he quotes Buechner, our deep gladness meets the world's great need. What is our deep gladness meeting the world's great need? Before we come to that center, Parker Palmer writes, full of light, we must travel in the dark. When we finally escape the darkness and stumble into the light, he wrote, it's tempting to tell others that our hope never flagged. Yeah, everything's great. How you doing? Great day. My life's going well. It's been going well. And to deny to others, or even ourselves, those long nights we spent cowering in fear. Well, I haven't forgotten my own darkness. That unremitting rumination. It doesn't cover my inner light. It doesn't cover my inner light, my soul, nearly as much as it used to, or as deeply these days. In fact, these days rarely, as I continue to add kindling to my own life and nurture the flame. That kindling is made of the branches of friendship, of contemplation, of tiny bits of generosity and heaping bundles of gratitude, of communion in this tiny chapel, and the gloriousness of our natural world, and the way of all those life-giving breadcrumbs and twigs and footsteps that keep me on the path, on the Jesus follow me trail toward the sacred center, immersed in and surrounded by the divine, unconditional and all-surrounding love of God. Rufus Jones writes, we find ourselves brought to an inner way of living where it's no longer how to accumulate goods, but rather how to become good. So inside each of us is a candle waiting to be lit. Or really, as Rufus Jones and others say, it's a candle that's already lit. So let's all pile on some kindling.